Sigma presents Business to Government, where innovation and growth meet policy and regulation. Sigma caught up with George Gregory, the newly appointed CEO of Malta Enterprise. Bringing over 3 decades of experience in the private sector, Gregory has held senior positions in top firms.
So basically, I'm the CEO of Malta Enterprise, and Malta Enterprise is the government's economic development agency. I think there are 3 key sectors where we operate. One is the startups that we are here today for. The other is the local SMEs, where is a big cohort of our economy. And then there's large corporations and FDI. That cuts across all facets of the country's economy. We obviously have to be there to support these entities all along the way to ensure our economy keeps on prospering as it has prospered over the last few years.
Starting this new role, what challenges do you see for yourself and Malta Enterprise in the forthcoming year?
Okay, first of all, the first challenge is a personal challenge. Moving from the private sector to the public sector wasn't an easy task, but it's been a wonderful experience. So I think that challenge is overcome, dead and buried. The other challenges, I think what we are seeing is the geopolitical situation today. Again, it is quite uncertain. So obviously we need to try as much as possible to understand what is happening and see what the risks are. But I always believe when there are risks, there are opportunities. So I think it's our job to look for those opportunities and grasp those opportunities. The other is always the uncertainty that comes from innovation. Innovation is moving fast, probably faster than most of people have ever expected. So obviously we need to be in tune with innovation, make sure we're attracting the right innovation here and grasping what innovation is going to have effect on the economy. Because I think innovation will play a very important role on economic factors in the future.
You're speaking about innovation. What comes to mind is AI, fintech, the new startups with all their emerging technologies. How does that impact the economy in Malta?
Well, I don't think it's going to impact only the Maltese economy. AI, fintech, and all these are affecting the European economy and the global economy. What we have to do, as I said earlier, is embrace these technologies that are coming and see, once again, where there are risks. We also seek out opportunities to take advantage of them to make sure our economy keeps growing as we expected. I think this is in line with what the government has recently announced within Vision 2050, where quality of life in Malta needs to be in sync with the way the economy is going and innovations and technology are going.
What initiatives do you aim for to grow venture capital investment into new startups?
I think Malta Enterprise already has a good setup in terms of assisting in what is almost pre-seed, early stage funding, and we've seen some attractive investments already, and as we speak there's already about 9 million worth of funds that have been disbursed in the startup sector. When it comes to the venture capital, again, I think a very interesting step is the venture capital fund that was set up by the government, and I think I believe there are already 24 independent venture capitalists that are accredited by this venture capital, that those venture capitalists assist in the venture capital fund to look at good opportunities and funds. So I think that is an area where we're growing, and I expect to see further growth in the years to come.
What interest do you have from startups, because we're here at the Startup Summit today, from the EU and from outside the EU, and how does that compare with startups you're seeing from Malta's side?
So with the EU, I think it's obviously we have the Commissioner here today, so that is already an important stamp where the EU is looking at innovation and startups as being a key part of its strategic objectives. So from the EU, that's a key element. From a country perspective, what we're seeing is our startups coming from a very diverse sectorial as well as countries. Where we see what we as Malta Enterprise are seeing, we're seeing about 45% of startups coming from outside the EU. I think the key element is attracting them within the EU and Malta if possible, and making sure we retain them here. And I think that is the key element that the Malta and the EU need to work on.
Can we look at education and what initiatives are being done to actually retrain people in employment, to reskill, and also on a primary and secondary education level?
I think education will play a very important part in the way the future goes. We have to move away from our traditional type of learning to embrace technologies once again. I think it's a very key element, and I have young kids myself, and I see certain areas where we need to improve on the globe in reality, because as I said earlier, technology is moving very fast and our education system needs to keep up. As Malta Enterprise, however, we fund education, and I think where we would like to aim is now, as you rightly said, is skilling in the right areas, but also I think is reskilling. We're already seeing some success in the aviation industry, and I hope to see success in other areas where we can fund with the Get Qualified scheme individuals to reskill in the key areas that we require.
Can we focus on the iGaming sector, very mature in Malta? What initiatives, what plans do Malta Enterprise have to collaborate with the sector in Malta and in Europe?
Again, in terms of Malta Enterprise has never really interacted with the iGaming sector when it came to assistance, because it's a very developed sector, but we are in constant communication with the iGaming sector to make sure that whatever economic changes or moves we do is in sync with the sector. It's a sector we can all learn from because it's a success story, no doubt, and we can model other sectors on the iGaming sector.
Thank you very much for answering my questions. Before we close for today, can we focus a bit on you? And could you tell us what brought you to Malta Enterprise and something about your background?
So I'm an accountant by profession, and I was in the private sector for almost 37 years. And I felt that this was the right time with the way the economy is changing and the way the country is changing. It's the right time for me to move from private sector to public sector. They're exciting times, and it would be wonderful to be in the thick of it.
How does the Malta Enterprise work hand in hand with the government and industry to make a bigger impact on the economy?
Well, Malta Enterprise is continually communicating with the industry when there are issues coming up in the industry, or from a geopolitical situation, or just normal run of the business. We have an outreach program where we meet a lot of the stakeholders in the industry, be it actual operators, be it NGOs. So we always have a pulse of what's going on and react to situations as fast as possible. I think that is something as a country we always have been proud of, where we have reacted and been nimble, and I think it's something we need to continue doing.
My final question for today, you mentioned geopolitics quite a lot, the geopolitical situation, which is slightly turbulent right now. How is that impacting your enterprise?
As I said earlier, again, we have individual entities coming to talk to us to see how it is affecting them. And as I said earlier, once again, there are risks in the geopolitical situation. Maybe in my personal view, globalization has changed significantly. With those risks, there are opportunities. And I think as an entity and as a country, we need to grasp those opportunities.
Thank you very much for speaking to us, and I wish you luck.
Thank you very much. Thank you.